from beautiful Saline in southeastern Michigan.
Around the world at sunskyMysteries.com.
This is the 2009 Top 10 Webcam in the World winner. This is s3e1.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Season 3 of Surrounded by Idiots. My name, of course, is Bill Zam, and we are in our brand new studios, even though it looks like the old studio. The set behind me is a leftover from the old studio, but we are in our new facilities, and over this season you'll see various bits and parts of it as we do shows from different parts of the studio. Now, the format of the show for this season is going to be about the same as last season because it worked out so darned well. One of the things that we are not going to be doing this season is having live shows, unless we have a guest on, that so the audience can ask questions. But we decided during the year, in between seasons, in between the second season and the third season, and this episode, that we were not going to do live shows because it takes up an awful lot of bandwidth and everything. There's a lot more things for the production crew to keep an eye on besides me. I tell you, my production crew has a full-time job just keeping an eye on me, making sure that I don't say something stupid. Now, the news this week. This is the today is the what the heck date is it? Today is the 17th of February 2013. Just a couple of days ago, we had a very interesting event take place, and I've seen a lot of the different videos and other information, and I think tonight I'm going to be showing you some information about the meteors and the meteoroids that have been seen around the Earth over the past few days. In fact, the other day when this actually happened, I went to my usual day job and puttered around, and of course the news had come in overnight about the great big meteor over Russia, and then the one over Cuba, and then the one over San Francisco, and then the one over Japan. By the time I got home, my wife was fairly shell-shocked by all the news, and I told her this is the sort of thing that we prepare for, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if it's going to be a CME that knocks out all the electricity. You don't know if it's going to be a meteor crashing to Earth and wrecking part of the infrastructure. Or some political upheaval or society upheaval or the old financial crash. You don't know what it is that's going to happen, but it happens in the blink of an eye. Nobody was expecting this meteor to come crashing down to Earth, or all of these different fireballs people were saying. Nobody expects that. At any rate, the thing that I wanted to talk about first on this episode is I think it's a stunning development of an old story that everyone's heard of. It's been on all the different UFO shows and everything else, and that is this that I'm going to show you on the screen right now. It is what is known as the Battle of Los Angeles, and you can see the photographs there. Everybody's familiar with that. It took place during World War II, and there was a big hoop-de-doo out there on the West Coast where they had spotted some type of unknown aircraft, and they were shooting anti-aircraft shells at it and everything else, and it is now part of the history of the rich fabric of the unidentified flying object history and lore. It is a very interesting story, but as it turns out, there is a new development, and this new development comes from a fellow by the name of George Filer. Here's his website right here. This is the National UFO Center Filers Research Institute, and this is published by retired Major George Filer. He is a MUFON director. I don't know if he is currently or not, but this is what was sent out by email earlier this week, and there's the top of the email that you get every couple of weeks. And that story is here. This is General George C. Marshall, and he wrote this memo to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and this is a recovered document, and this was sent on March 5th, 1942, and it goes like this. This is a formerly top-secret memo, but since I'm talking about it and others have talked about it, it's no longer top secret. Regarding the air raid over Los Angeles, it was learned by Army G2 that Rear Admiral Anderson recovered an unidentified aircraft off the coast of California with no bearing on conventional explanation. This headquarters has come to the determination that the mystery airplanes, plural airplanes, are in fact not earthly, and according to secret intelligence sources, they are in all probability of interplanetary origin. As a consequence, I have issued orders to Army G2 that a special intelligence unit be created to further investigate the phenomenon and report any significant connection between recent events and those collected by the Director of the Office of Coordinator of Information. And this memo bears the correct Office of Chief of Staff, OCS, file numbers, and has Interplanetary Phenomenon Unit, the IPU, typed on it at a later date by a different typewriter. And apparently this was sent to George by a fellow by the name of Frank Chili. And you can see that over at his website, which is right here. This is the George Filer website right here. It is nationalufocenter.com. That's nationalufocenter.com. Now, one of the interesting things that is on this particular website right now, and you want to go there and check out this website, because this next thing that I'm going to talk about is extremely interesting, because it contains photographs that I haven't seen before. And he has the article, Fireball from Outer Space. Now check this out. Let me zoom in on this a little bit more. And there we go. Right here. Fireball from Outer Space, February 15, 2013. Some feared it was a plane about to fall out of the sky, while others thought the world was ending. And here are the photographs, folks. This is a photograph of where the object crashed into a lake. I have since found out that the Russian army has been there, and they've been diving in the lake, and they have found no trace of this object. Now check out these photographs here. Here's another photograph of it. An official standing near an 8-meter hole left by the meteorite on the surface of a frozen lake. And here's another photograph of it. Chunks of black matter ranging between 5 millimeters and 10 millimeters in diameter were scattered around the ice hole caused by the meteorite. And here's another photograph of it. Right there. And you can see it is a round hole. Now, there's not a lot of photographs taken from a distance back, but you can see here on this image right here, let me see if I can draw this on here, you can see the impact area. See how the snow back here, all these chunks go out this way? You can tell this thing came down this way like this and blew these chunks out. I've seen a lot of different articles and blog posts about how it's impossible, because if it came down at an angle, it wouldn't be a circular hole and everything else. I saw a special on the Tunguska blast, and you may have too. It's been on the History Channel on H2, about how they tried to figure out what angle the Tunguska object came in at. And what they found is that no matter what angle they dropped their model Tunguska object, basically a ball bearing, no matter what angle they dropped it in, it always makes a circular hole like this. I mean, look up on the moon. Do you see any oval craters? No, you don't. But you can see how the debris was spread out like this. In fact, it may have actually come down like this now that I look at it, because it looks like the debris is going out there like that. Let's take a look at some more photographs of this thing. Here is the one of the dash cams as the fireball was coming down out of the sky. And here is the smoke trail. This is one of the facilities there. Brightly burning rocks could be seen for hundreds of kilometers as they crashed at around 9:20 a.m. local time, and one bystander described it as like a scene from the Armageddon movie, Where's Bruce Willis When You Need Him. And there's another photo of the fireball. And here is something that I bet you haven't seen. Here is a disaster graphic sequence. You can see right here, here's a fellow that was injured by the debris and whatnot and the blast right there. And you can see, here's obviously one of the photographs from Russia. There's one of those typical Russian municipal buildings right there. Looks like it comes from the old Soviet Empire. But all of this is at George Filer's site. That's nationalufocenter.com. And I thought that was highly interesting. And the other part of this story is that besides the memo that Filer published on his site and all of this stuff about the UFOs and whatnot, there's also on Scribed, that's SCRIBD.com, SCRIBD.com, Scribed.com. There is a free book that you can download. It is called The Secret Black Projects of the New World Order, Anti-Gravity UFOs, Black Helicopters, and Mysterious Flying Triangles by Tim Swartz. And it is a rather interesting book. It has information about stealth technology, exotic aircraft used in the Gulf War, the mysterious Dr. Brown, the Aurora, does it really exist? Underground bases of the New World Order, black helicopters, flying triangles, and it goes on and on and on. 13 chapters in all, over 100 pages. It is a fairly interesting book. That's SCRIBD.com. If you go to the website after the show, we will have our show notes, as always, at USSAMichigan.com. That's USSAMichigan.com. And all the links for everything that we talk about will be on that website, as well as the audio podcast of the show. So you can follow along with what I'm muttering about here on the show and follow the links, because I have everything linked. I have all my sources linked at the site. Now, our top political news for this week is that John Kerry, he served in Vietnam, has been approved to be the new Secretary of State. And he may actually be, now think about this for a second, he may actually be the most effective Secretary of State in decades. Do you know why? That's because nobody is returning his phone calls. How can the guy screw things up if nobody's willing to talk to him? That's a good sign right there. Now, of course, there's a conspiracy that goes along with this. Because right after he was approved, selected, and apparently went into his office there at the State Department, there was a what I like to term as everybody's favorite comeuppance, and that would be a thinly veiled charge of insider trading. Let's take a look at this. And this comes to us from CNBC. The SEC files lawsuit against certain unknown traders over Heinz call options. Now, for those of you that don't know, John Kerry's wife is part of the Heinz family. So she's that's part of the dynasty. And apparently, according to this article, acting just one day after the surprise announcement that H.J. Heinz would be acquired by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway and Brazilian-based 3G Capital for $23.3 billion, the SEC has gone to court to freeze assets associated with what it calls highly suspicious trading. Unknown traders have apparently had advanced word and began buying options a day ahead of the news about the deal going through, that Heinz stock price would rise. Both the size and the timing of the trades raised large suspicions at the SEC. And of course, you know, nothing's going to come of it. They might have some guy that's going to take the fall for it, but, I mean, at this point, what the hell difference does it make anyways? John Kerry, who married into the Heinz fortune, this is an illustration of how things work in Washington, D.C. right now, how bad things have gotten. This is clearly... the whole thing, the whole cesspool there in Washington, D.C., is essentially nothing more than an exercise in intellectual depravity. That's all it is. It's horrible. Kerry returned to Vietnam with John McCain, and they went to the Hanoi Hilton. John McCain, as you know, is a supposed Republican, and John Kerry is a Democrat. And they went to the Hanoi Hilton. They returned to Vietnam. And that's one of the things that triggered for me thinking about things differently than I used to. As I've explained before in previous shows. In fact, last season I talked about it a lot. That all it takes is just one thing. Just one thing. All that's got to happen is one little piece of your reality, your picture of the world reality, being pulled out of place, and the whole thing begins to fall down. Once you start to wake up, you are on a road that will not end until you're fully awake. And most people, and I have to count myself as one of them, most people like to keep their blinders on, like to turn a blind eye to what's really happening. And right now I'm 54 years old. I'm going to be 55 very shortly. And I've been watching this stuff all of my adult life. I started watching politics back when I was in high school in the mid-1970s. And the more I see things like this, like the John Kerry hearings before the Senate, and I don't know if you watched any of them, or like the Hillary Clinton grand appearance on the Benghazi hearings. Look, it's all a dog and pony show. It's the only thing. If you watch these things, the only thing you can say to yourself is it's back scratch time. It's people getting together that are in the same class, the ruling class, and in this case, they're the elites. And they're praising each other and telling each other how wonderful they are, and how great they are, and how much they've meant to themselves, not to the country, but to themselves. And of course, as their wondrous acts and thoughts fall out of their lips and become ideas for the country. They're making the country so much better because they're so much better than you and I, because they're the only ones that understand what's really going on. And they blither and blather about how much they've meant to the country and how much they're going to mean to the country. And aren't we wonderful people, and don't we really care? And we're really special, is what they say to themselves. And I'm really looking at all of this now, here in 2013, in a really, really different way. This John Kerry thing and the Hillary thing, it was, and any other hearings that you see in Washington right now, they had the chairperson, the people from the SEC there, wanting to know why the hell they didn't take anybody to court or put anybody in jail for the big banking disaster. And of course, they hemmed and hawed, and everybody patted each other on the back and everything. It's a pure dog and pony show. There was no question that Kerry was going to be confirmed, and this Hagel thing with this clown and all the other people that are up for nominations. Everybody acts like, well, I want to ask you some really serious questions about something that you said about 20 years ago. And at the end of the day, they pat each other on the back and talk about how wonderful and beautiful they all are. There was no question that Kerry was going to be confirmed. There's also no question in my mind, and probably your mind too, that the guy is going to be a disaster. That's why I say he's probably the most effective Secretary of State so far, because nobody is returning his phone calls. They're still too busy laughing their asses off at what the United States has become. These elites, the ones that are in charge, America has, to them, to their way of thinking, and you've probably noticed this too. Maybe I'm telling you something you don't know yet. These are the people that they're the ones in charge, and they say that America has always been wrong, and they scratch each other's backs while they talk about that, well, how terrible we are and how we have to fix that. America is always guilty. You see, according to them, we've always been guilty. We're evil. We're racist. We hate those who are not like us. Well, except for the Jews. And the elites, they have no problems hating the Jews at all. That's everybody else that has to take the blame for everything else. America, according to them, is always the one that makes the transgressions. America is always the one that has to apologize, like for a video that had nothing to do with an event. America has always bullied people, according to them. And now the people running the show are those that think they understand this. They're going to make it right around the world. They're going to let everyone know we're sorry for bullying them, and we're sorry for stealing their oil, and we're sorry for stealing their tin, and we're sorry for stealing their plutonium, and we're sorry for stealing their gold, and we're sorry for coming in and conquering their people. They say, we understand how bad the United States has been, and we're all here to fix it. Then they get together at these confirmation hearings and basically tell each other how wonderful they all are. Well, the rest of us, out in the countryside here, all sit back, scratch our heads, sit on the couch, and wonder what in the hell just happened. Because you know what? We've done it to ourselves. Which brings me to privacy, or the lack thereof. Because when you are in the situation that we're in, sliding down the slope of republic for which we stand, we need to observe our written instructions of governance, the written instructions, which is our Constitution, Bill of Rights, and other oddities that the leftists in Washington, D.C. insist are either a living document or dead, depending on whatever it is that they want us to do this week or keep us from doing. After all, the Constitution is a negative set of rights according to our dear leader. So, with the destruction of the Fourth Amendment, and now would be a great time to take a look at the offending document, the Fourth Amendment, the thing that I'm talking about right now. Let me see here. I got it up on here somewhere, and there it is right there. Let's take a look at the text of the Fourth Amendment, which is right there on your screen. And here it is. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. And there you see, right there, this comes from Wikipedia. Their stuff in the Constitution is actually, believe it or not, correct and well written. And that is the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, and it's part of the Bill of Rights. And the Fourth Amendment guards against unreasonable searches and seizures, along with requiring any warrant to be judicially sanctioned and supported by probable cause. The problem is that the search and seizure, including arrest, should be limited in scope according to specific information supplied to the issuing court, usually by a law enforcement officer, local, state, or federal, who has sworn by it. The Fourth Amendment applies to the states by way of due process clause of the 14th Amendment. So what do we do? What do we do about this? Because you and I know that with everything that's going on, with all of the intelligence gathering, this is being violated. Social networks like Facebook are being accused, and with good reason, maybe or maybe not, of being a Trojan horse for government spies. With all of the no wiretap rules and the warrantless wiretap rules, the NDAA, the DHS, and the NSA all stumbling over their own feet to gather information on the citizens, the central government, to me, sure seems like it's ignoring the Constitution, specifically the Fourth Amendment, and probably the 14th Amendment too. So what do we do about it? Well, there are solutions to this. Now, let me ask you a question. What would you think about a social network in a box? Would that tickle your fancy? How about if it used encryption, PGP security certificates as well? Well, there is a program, and I want to talk about that program for just a minute. It is a program that is called RetroShare, and I and my associates have been testing it for the past couple of weeks, and it is the best one that I've found. The model that RetroShare uses, in fact, let me bring up their website right here. The model that RetroShare uses is the linking of friends and associates and exchanging of the PGP certificates combined with various levels of trust. In other words, you can have several groups of friends that you allow to have different levels of trust for each person that you communicate with. The program also has an email function that does not go anywhere besides the person that you are sending it to. There are no email servers involved. There are group chats, there are one-on-one chats, there are discussion forums that you can start for yourself. The point is that none of this at all is on the internet. It is peer-to-peer. It goes from computer to computer. The only thing you're doing is you're using your internet connection to travel between the two computers. Everything is encrypted. Now, you should go and you should at least check out this RetroShare program. You can exchange your certificates, and that is something that needs to be discussed because, okay, you go to the RetroShare website right here. Let me zoom in on this so you can see it a little bit better. And you don't click this download link here. Click the download link up on the menu, and you get a lot of options and different operating systems that it will work on. Look at all these different operating systems that it'll work on. You can even download the tarball. I highly recommend using the portable version, which is right there, the third one, because that way you can put it on a USB stick. You can load it up into the memory stick of your camera. You can load it up into the memory of an MP3 player and take it and plug it into any computer that you're at, and you can communicate with your friends securely. It doesn't leave any files on the computer at all. That's only the portable version. The other versions you have to install. Now, how do you exchange certificates between your friends? How do you do that? That is the big question. Because, you see, unless you have physical contact with that person and you can put your certificate on a USB stick and give it to the person, and they load it up on their computer and vice versa, and everybody's copacetic and happy, the only way to do it that most people can think of is by email. And as we know, the aforementioned DHS, NSA, and all of the other alphabet soup agencies, the NSA especially, they have this big computer warehouse out west. Every email that's sent is stored. Every single one of them. Any email you send, you have to assume that the government has taken seizure of, a violation of the 4th and 14th Amendment to the Constitution. But they don't see it that way. So there's nothing we can do about that at this point. However, if you exchange your security certificates via email, then you got a problem, because if something happens and the government wants to know what the hell you've been talking about on your little RetroShare program there, guess what? All they got to do is take that email, get your certificate, and they're in. So exchanging your certificates by email is useless. And right now the NSA has your information, and it makes the whole thing useless in the end. Now my suggestion is, and think about this, maybe some of you, one of you bright people out there can do something like this. I already have a version of it up and running that I am testing right now. Should use a secure website. In other words, a website that you have to be a member of in order to be able to get into. A member-only website. And log into it, and you can use it to exchange your certificates that way. Especially if it's a secure website and it's relatively tight coding. But of course, in the end, more than likely, if anybody decides to use this RetroShare program, they're probably going to exchange their certificates by email and not bother to listen to a damn word that I've said. So, that said, that I believe is probably all I'm going to do for this particular episode, simply because my voice is beginning to get hoarse, and as per doctor's orders, and because of the medical condition that I have, I am not allowed to talk for a extended length of time, but hopefully that will change with the proper medications and dietary changes that I have made. So, my name is Bill Zam. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the show, and I'm not sure when the next show is going to be, but we will upload it to YouTube, and the podcast will be at ussamichigan.com. So, till the next time, my name is Bill Zam. Thank you for watching and listening, if you're listening to the podcast, and we will see all of you on our next show.